Here we go. And I'm just watching. Yes, I can see people coming in. I'm just watching the participants. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our webinar today. We are so excited to host you and to have Renée Clair joining us to talk all about a topic that we've never covered before, but it's so important: aligned recruiting in your business, bringing the right people into your business and around your business. It's so important for us to do that. So welcome to the webinar. I'm going to guide you through a few little bits of housekeeping, but before we do that, can you let us know in the chat? Let us know that the chat is working. Where are you? Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. Let us know how hot it is there today, because it's about 34 degrees here. I'm in Canada, so that's Celsius, so I can never remember what that translates to, but it's hot. It's hot enough that my 3 kids and my small dog are all trapped inside the house with me. So if you hear anything from them, that's what's going on. It's a little maniacal in the background. So let us know, where are you and what sort of temperatures are you having? Hopefully a little bit cooler than this. So as we move through the webinar today, all the usual rules apply. My name is Sinead. If you're meeting me for the first time, I'm part of the Offering Tree team. I'm a yoga teacher in Calgary, Alberta as well. So I use the software and I work behind the scenes for the software. My pronouns are she, her. I have children and a little yippy dog that's at my feet, if you can hear her. And yeah, so that's me. Housekeeping for today. Drop your questions in the chat. We're going to get to them. We've got some questions that were sent to us from our Offering Tree Studio community as well that we're going to get to. There is a replay if you need to hop off. I say it will come out within 24 hours as a contingency. It will probably be much faster than that. And finally, our little elevator pitch. If you're new to Offering Tree, we are an all-in-one software for wellness professionals, yoga teachers, yoga studios, and it's a website, it's emails, it's a blog, it's scheduling, payment processing, it's everything all in one site, handed to you on a silver platter by a very nice team. I may be biased, but they're a great team, and we're based on community. So we always want to build our community. We want to hear from our community, and we want to hear from you. And if you wanted to join the software today, I'm going to drop a link in the chat for this awesome deal that you're going to get today. So without further ado, I'm going to stop this share. We're going to check in on the chat and see who's here with us today. And now I can't find my chat window. Oh, here it is, 94 Fahrenheit for Renee. That's nice and warm. You're having similar temperatures to us. They're telling us about this heat bubble, right? And yes, I'm handing you over to Renée Clair. So hello, Renee.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to talk about recruiting. I promise I will do my best not to make this presentation dry, although it can really be. But we're going to keep it light and we're going to talk about it in a loving, caring, kindful way. But first things first, I would love for you to share the following. I'm going to drop some information in the chat. But I would love to know more about you here. So where are you calling from? It looks like Dawson's in Illinois. And I would love to know your favorite thing about the summer season. So I'm calling in from San Antonio, Texas. This is my home state and town that's in the USA. And my favorite thing about the summer season is I love a good excuse to go to the beach or the coast. So we have the Gulf Coast over here, but I am definitely attracted to the ocean. For me, that is my healing place. And then I would love to know your profession. So are you a good teacher, a studio owner, a wellness professional, or a coach, or something else? I would love to hear and know that about you. And a little bit more about me. I am a 200 hours, I'm a certified yoga teacher, and I got certified way back when. It's not too far, but back in 2015. So I've been teaching since then. And my focus has always been on alignment and core stability and just really connecting with your mind, body, and spirit. So my type of yoga is always focused on how can you just breathe and move through your life, right? And slow down just a little bit. Now that I've shifted my career path as a empowerment and business coach. Now I incorporate all of that to help my clients to actually get their own practice together. And I usually use some form of meditation or pranayama to start off a productivity session. So we will do just that. So if you're here with me live, I invite you to take a load off, sit on the edge of your seat if you'd like, or just lean back against your chair, whatever feels comfortable. Uncross your legs if they're crossed, and then place your hands on your thighs. So maybe palms up if you are like me, maybe you're tired, it's the middle of the day, you need a pick-me-up, maybe energy or guidance from another source, or palms down if you're just dealing with a lot of anxiety and feel like the world's moving too quickly. Sometimes I do a lot of that, and it feels really nice just to get grounded within myself. And I welcome you to close your eyes, or if that's uncomfortable, just gaze down at your desk and just kind of notice where your body is here in space. Notice if you're kind of slumped forward, or maybe one shoulder is hiked more than the other. Sometimes I can find that I've got like one eye twitching and my right shoulder up. And just notice if you can relax your body in any way, feel free to do so. If not, just let your body do what it needs to do, honor where it is in this space and time. And we'll take one deep grounding breath together just to bring our focus to the here and now and be present with one another. So on an inhale, breathe deeply through your nose, elongate your spine, reach the crown of your head or the top of your head up towards the ceiling or sky if you like to imagine things. Hold your breath at the top here for 2, 3, 4, and then release your breath through your mouth. Just let it all go. See if you can relax your shoulder blades down your back and flutter your eyes open. All right, I'm going to check the chat. So we've had some people who've been able to respond, and I have the chat open, Sinead. So let's see, we've got, and hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Miss Dasa, or Dasa, Mr. Dasa. You're in Illinois. You love the sunshine in the summer. Studio owner. Okay, wonderful. And your intention is to learn about hiring and when to start hiring. That is the top question that I always get. How do I know when it's time to start hiring? And I'm going to write that down so I can make sure to address it. And you also say you're the sole teacher at your studio. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, congratulations on making it through the first year. That's always a big feat, right? So I think we should always celebrate those milestones. And I'm so excited that you feel ready to go ahead and hire within the next 6 months. And I love that you have a time frame down. That's amazing. And Melissa's in Oak Park, Illinois. Oh, we've got a whole bunch of Illinois people online. This is great. I love being outdoors and feeling the life of summer. Oh, everything is so vibrant. We've got Pitta energy. Everything is strong and just in full force. It's really great. Retreat organizer, facilitator, yay! And you love to teach yoga in healthcare settings. Oh, you are very needed. I have a background in mental health care settings. So I used to be, Sinead, I used to be a case manager, and I worked with people who specifically dealt with schizophrenia some time ago.
Wow.
So people like that, and even people who deal with mental illness definitely need yoga in their lives.
Yeah.
Michael, you're in upstate New York. Lots of lakes around here. Oh, I've heard it's so beautiful. I'd love to go one day. And your husband, your kayak, I was just having a dream about kayaking. It's something about the water. New studio owner, congratulations. And you're here to just get your feet wet with recruiting. And Dasa, you're very welcome. Okay, is everybody ready to dive in? Let's.
Okay, I'm going to get this screen shared.
Thank you.
Let me put it on present mode.
Thank you, Sinead. And everybody here with me on the line, I should probably warn you, tech does its own thing all the time. And about 10 minutes before I hopped on with Sinead, my internet completely went out. I checked online. It's happening to over 1,000 of us here in San Antonio. So Sinead is graciously being my wonderful, beautiful assistant, and she's going to be running through the slides. So thank you. She's my Vanna White. And
such typical timing. Okay, so you let me know when to flip, and we're all good.
I will. And my style, everybody, is very laid back. So again, feel free to pop questions in the chat. Sinead will stop me. I like to have a good time and not be so structured, as you can probably already see. So welcome to Scaling Your Business, Align Recruiting. hiring and onboarding. And onboarding is very short, just training. It's getting your staff up to speed. And next slide, Renee. And hopefully is it working? Yeah. And we're using Canva, everybody. I really like Canva for slide decks if you haven't used it yet. But sometimes the little clicker will give me the runaround and just get me too forward or too back. So myself an empowerment strategist, but as I said earlier, I'm an empowerment and business coach for small businesses and solopreneurs in the service industry. And specifically, as you probably guessed, in the wellness industry, just because of my own yoga background, you all are the impact makers. So I really love serving people who just have an undeniable need to serve. And that's how I show up, is when I'm showing up for people that want to really help people. So I work with people who are in the service provider industry, virtual assistants, interior designers, PAs, that's personal assistants, VAs, marketing. I have a big marketing background, educators. I love the education industry. Food and plant as medicine. Some people are very surprised that I've worked in the cannabis and psychedelic industry. I love working with nutritionists and chefs. And then wellnesspreneurs, just like you, yoga teachers, retreat owners, conference people, mental health therapists, coaches, you name it. But I've noticed that for those of us who have a lot of heart, we tend to get really overwhelmed and our business can get wrapped up in chaos sometimes. So I like to take everybody to clarity, and so that you can find personal and professional freedom. So your whole entire life, that's what my mission is. For this particular topic, it breaks my heart because I've seen so many people hire someone that they know, and friendships can be broken. They spent a lot of time and money either training someone, and there's just kind of a lot of hardships when we approach, hiring just from, this, let's just get it done. We just need a body, right? And then people always want to show up with good intentions. So it can really kind of affect our business, but also how we're showing up, because we hire with heart always. Next slide. So the way that I work with my clients is through this three-pronged model. I call it the Clarity Business Model. Get it? My last name's Claire. And the first thing that you automatically can see is that I love helping people streamline their business. So what does that mean? That looks like recruiting, like we're going to talk about today, productivity, time management, setting goals, getting really clear on what all of that is. And then the next prong is motivational mindset. So I love helping people to break limiting beliefs holding them back, acknowledge and create awareness and acceptance around imposter syndrome, and manage energy. That's really huge, because especially we're all aware of our energy, but like sometimes we have to push forward as business owners. And then clear purpose. This one's my favorite. Is really tapping into your deep why, aligning all of your actions, all of your tasks on that why, like what it is that you're really wanting to do and make an impact on this world, and leave things that are just wasting your time in the dust. And remembering to place your self-care first, because we tend to place other people first. Next slide. So I found this really interesting statistic. Of course, this is probably going to apply to more so corporations, which actually means in turn that it has an even bigger effect on those of us who are entrepreneurs and small business owners. So a Harvard Business Review study found that 80% of employee turnover is due to bad hiring decisions. I don't like to use the word bad. I think it's, it's just that we don't know, or we're stressing out, right? So 80% is just, we're just in this fight or flight place. And then 45% of bad hires, or, hires that didn't really work out, is because of a lack of process. So we're going to talk about a process today to help you nip these things in the bud. But for me, I always think the first step is just creating awareness. I gave Sinead the link to this article, so feel free to refer to it. It's got more goodies in there, and I think it'll just reinforce what we're talking about today. Next slide. All right, so the problem that I see all the time, and I'm guilty of it too, everybody, is that when we are in fight or flight, we hire very quickly. But this sets us behind. It costs money to rehire and retrain someone, even if we can't put a price tag on it. I mean, any time that you spend training someone is hard-earned money, right? Because your time could be spent doing something else, and then it potentially puts a rift in friendships. So in the next slide, I will share my solution, which is to slow down and, more importantly, hire with intention with these 5 steps. All right, so who's ready to discover these 5 steps? So this is our agenda and our objective on the next slide. We are here to learn, oh, thank you, Sinead, for dropping that link in, learn how to align recruiting, hiring, and onboarding with heart and mind, right? Because we've got our heart, but and our mind to establish longevity and success with dedicated employees. And for me, everything comes together when we have everything in alignment. That is, same thing with our mind, body, spirit, same thing with our business, okay? And more specifically here, when we're creating a team, because we don't want to just hire for someone to help us with emails. We want to take them on a journey. We want them to hang around with us for at least 2 to 3 years, if not beyond. Wouldn't that be incredible, right? The more you can have someone stay on your staff, the more they know you, the more they can anticipate what your needs are, and the more that you can let go and do what you want to do, which is more creativity, thinking higher, and just interacting with your clients. So the 5 things that we'll cover today are setting clear goals, establishing SOPs, and SOPs is a very kind of scary acronym. It's even scarier when I say it out loud, standard operating procedures, but think of it just as documentation. A lot of what we do is in our head, and we don't take the time to just get it out on paper and make it available to others. So we're going to talk about easy ways to do that today. Befriending tech. For those of us who are creatives and we want to work with people, we do not want to work with tech. I have taught myself how to be really great with tech. In fact, I have something called Tech Help Tuesdays because I've accidentally taught myself how to interact with tech very, very well. And so I want to help other people because I hated tech a long time ago, and now I've learned to befriend it. We're not best friends, but we hang out. We'll talk about interviewing for long-term goals and your corporate culture. A lot of us, when we have our entrepreneurship, we don't think of ourselves as big corporations, but I want to gently challenge you to think bigger, right? And think that you are your corporate culture, and that will be really fun to integrate into your interviewing and hiring. And last but not least, and my favorite thing to talk about, is setting clear boundaries. So how do we set clear boundaries when we're really giddy, we're excited, we want to get going with someone, but we still need to have some, professional things and agreement on file. Next slide, please. All right, so number 1, hiring begins with clear goal setting. So what do I mean by that? Usually, what I see a lot of my clients do is just kind of jump in. I know that I want help with social media, so let me ask people to refer someone for social media. But I think it's so important to take a really big step back and come back to your deep why. For me, when I talk about your deep why, it's what is the real impact that you're wanting to make in this world, in your community, for yourself, even more so for your family, whether you have 4 dogs like me and a fiance, or you're like Sinead with 3 boys in her home. So what is your deep why? Because all of that, anybody you hire should be somehow connected to that, right? And then think about your heart goal. When I talk about heart goals, you might have heard it in the business world as an annual goal. So what is your annual goal? My annual goal is to make X amount of money, or to grow my studio by, 100 more, members, or, whatever it is. So that's usually your heart goal there. And then your head goal are your quarterly goals. You break them down into things that are more measurable, right? So, okay, if I want to grow my membership all year long by, let's say, 100 people, 100 divided by 4, 25 people every quarter. So that would be a little more specific. And then also remembering what your mission, vision, and value statement is. Sinead reminded me of that. And another wonderful consultant that works with you all shared that. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. So go back to that and or create it. It's actually something that you want to make sure that people that you interview are aware of. Make sure to post this information on your website. People can always tell when I'm interested as I interview as a candidate, because I come forth and I'm like, hey, I align with your mission. This is how, and you let people self-select. Or you can ask them questions to tap into your values and make sure that they're in alignment, right? Like you want someone who maybe, is aware of yoga, or maybe they've been a practitioner of yoga. Maybe they're not a certified yoga teacher, but they've been practicing it, so they know the importance. Or if you're wanting to hire someone who does events, they've They've done events, but they do it in a heartfelt way where they're really wanting to make an impact on the world. So think about those things before you even, start to hire or ask for referrals. So hiring begins with clear goal setting first and foremost. Next slide, please. All right, so next up, bring clarity to who and what that you want to hire for with SOPs. So SOPs, again, is standard operating procedures, and it just means documentations. So there's some things that I like to ask my clients so they can just kind of start to figure out where should they start. First things first is, what are the tasks that you need help with? Just write those down. They could be on a sticky piece of paper. Think about the tasks that are energetically draining you, that seem to take way too much time, the things that are keeping you up at night when you should be having dinner, with your family, or, meditating, or whatever it is, right? Write those things down just to kind of get clear right from the get-go, because maybe you'll surprise yourself. Maybe you don't need a YouTube podcast manager. Maybe you need someone who really knows Facebook ads. But that will just come from just taking a moment and just simply journaling. Next up is using ONET and ChatGPT to research tasks, responsibilities, skills, abilities, KSAOs, as we like to call them: knowledge, skills, ability, and other. I've actually attached the ONET link. So Sinead has that as well. And I was going to do a screen share just to show you, but hence having Wi-Fi problems. But ONET is something that I've used, and to my master's time ago. I have a master's in industrial and organizational psychology, which means just kind of understanding how organizations work. ONET is my go-to place. Anytime someone says, oh, I want to hire for blah, 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 I'll go in there and I'll check. I was like, does this make sense? Is this role going to cover what, my client needs? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no, sometimes maybe it's a combination of two roles in ONET, but it's really, really great. It's a really great resource. And then ChatGPT, if you're familiar with using ChatGPT, I love it as a resource because sometimes I'll just ask it, hey, I need help with these tasks. What is the role that I'm looking for? Because sometimes I don't know. And actually, I've done that with myself. These are the things I'm doing. What should I be calling myself? And it came up with empowerment strategist. And I was like, oh, I really like that. So just check in, and I like to use the power of ChatGPT for good. But again, if it's not for you, head to ONET. And then your next stop shop is to create some standard operating procedures and documents, or documents to store in a shared drive. And the reason I say in a shared drive is because you want people to have access to them in the future, or now if you have a small team. I'd like to take a minute, Sinead, and just pause. I'd love to know in the chat if any of you currently have team members. Let me know how many people you're working with. Maybe 0, maybe you have 1 person. It doesn't matter if they're part-time, contract, or full-time. I would just like to know where you're. Like a chef of mine, she's got 3 people in the office, and then she manages 20 plus servers in her catering business. So let me know in the chat. And Sinead, do you have any questions so far? Have you seen any other questions come up in the chat?
No questions that have come through, but I know ChatGPT made me smile because I've been really digging into this lately on the advice of one of our studio business consultants, actually, who's a huge proponent of it. And it's I've been doing like searching for recipes for my kids because I've got a picky eater, and the thing, it just basically thinks for you. It gives you all these suggestions. Like, this is incredible. So Melissa's saying, I hire assistants and co-facilitators for some of my retreats, but I don't have any regular employees or team members.
Okay, that's helpful to know, Melissa. And that makes sense. Some people, like my chef client, she'll hire servers, and they kind of come in and out depending on the event. But even for the assistants and co-facilitators, it's still important to get clear on what it is that you want them to do and write down the things that you're asking of them to do. So Melissa, thank you for sharing. And you never know, maybe you will have a regular employee to help you soon, right? I can see your business really blowing up.
And I know
and back to chat.
sorry, I used to manage a studio, Renee. I was brought in as a part-time
Oh,
studio manager to a studio where the previous manager, I'm not entirely sure what all the issues were, but basically nearly all the staff left. So there'd obviously not been a lot of boundary settings. And when I took over, so I had a lot of work to do for the couple of staff that were left there. And on reflection, like
yes.
there was a mission, vision, values, but it was pretty vague. The owner was almost like a silent owner who just had invested in a yoga studio and also ran a chiro practice. So was really busy elsewhere and just wanted it to run itself and to be very successful without kind of really having these boundaries there. But I did manage to hire some teachers and implement some, like a staff handbook. We didn't even have that. Having those really basic standard operating procedures probably would have helped them from the get-go, probably would have kept them going if they'd have had it. And these are the tiny things that you just don't, well, not a tiny thing, but it's a huge thing, but it's a tiny piece of a larger puzzle of a studio that this owner had completely overlooked and led to some sort of catastrophic staff changes that really impacted business for a while.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. I've actually managed a studio very similar where the owner would just host retreats, but he was just very disconnected from the teachers that were there and me as the studio manager. I came up with SOPs to help the staff, but it wasn't enough. Like you definitely need a leader who's motivating and present and able to connect with their staff and have that presence. There's something really magical when you can have, top leadership interact in that way. So you're spot on there. And it makes it very difficult for anybody who's middle management to manage, we need the vision of these leaders. And by the way, all of you here, as entrepreneurs and small business owners, you are the leaders. So it's really wonderful that you're thinking ahead. And going back to standard operating procedures, it's a step after you're getting clear on what tasks and what maybe mini projects you need help with, and then outlining those steps. Thinking about, okay, what are the links that and the software that people would need or that I need? Like start with yourself first. Okay, let me just document what am I doing? What's the software? How often? What's the cadence? And then go from there. And then these standard operating procedures, they become just like Sinead said, they become those training manuals. And it's really wonderful. And then you have it as shared drive and you just slide it on over to them, right? And it saves so much time, so much time. Time later. Well, I'll preface with that, right? At first, it takes a hot minute to sit down and get it out, but I can't tell you how many SOPs I created. And then for my last VA, and then I have a wonderful virtual assistant. She couldn't make it or she'd be here, but she took all the SOPs and she just gobbled them up. And she was like trained with like maybe a few questions. And I just stepped back and realized I saved so much time. I'm going to head back to the chat here. Melissa said, okay, for the roles, the assistants and co-facilitator roles, she doesn't have much of an issue because they're temporary. Yes. So no long-term commitment. All right. But she'd like to hire for other tasks. Yes. In the daily ops and have a lot of fear and perfectionism that comes up around this. Me too. Who's a recovering perfectionist? Who's recovering today? Thank you for sharing that, Melissa, being vulnerable, because you're not alone, I promise. The SOPs, the documenting, that's where I get my perfectionism out. Everything like has step by step by step. And then it's amazing to see, someone take it and I'm like, oh, wow, somebody else can do this too. But you're right, it is a very vulnerable place to be. Oh, cool. I just saw Michael's note come through. His focus, yes, of course, is hiring instructors. We're learning that networking among instructors in the community can be risky. Wondering what strategies are successful in recruiting teachers for two owners who are not instructors. Husband is an avid yoga practitioner, but not being an instructor himself has been challenging or staff. Oh, and you're the only staff. Okay. Gosh, I had this happen too in when I worked in Sonoma. There were two practitioners at Body Yoga Studio. What they did was they found a yoga studio manager who was also a teacher, kind of similar to Sinead, and asked that person for her advice. and she's just amazing. So they hired her as a contractor and maybe like tried her on as their own operations manager, right? And then gave her, like, kind of put their trust in her and said, okay, they shared their vision, they shared the plan. This is how many instructors, this is overall what we're looking for, our vision, values statement. And then she took it from there and would find the teachers. And then I'll talk about like some other places to look for teachers too. But Michael, that's a really great question. And I love it. It's important to recognize how many hats we wear as we start off on our business journey. So it will change, I promise. So hang in there. I know it can be a lot at one time. And I hope
And
that was
I'm
helpful,
just going
Michael.
to
But I
ask,
think, oh yeah.
sorry, Renee. Yeah, if Michael and his wife are in offering tree, and if you're in our OT studio co-op, because we do coaching calls with our studio business consultant, and he had some tips around this. And I'm trying to remember now where for finding like local yoga teachers, especially if you aren't a yoga teacher yourself, and finding maybe like local Facebook groups, going to teacher trainings, YTTs. They always have a roster of alumni.
Yeah.
Talking to your yoga students or getting to know your community and seeing who they recommend could be a good way as well. Because the studio that I managed was in a really small community, and we had to navigate some of those issues as well. Yoga teachers knowing each other, competing against, or they worked at a local studio and weren't allowed to cross over. So there's a few little bumps there that we could definitely address in a studio coaching call if you guys are over there. So let us know.
That's such a great resource, Sinead. I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
Love it.
I know.
Michael, definitely take advantage. And then Sinead, you sparked another idea, which I've done for some of my other clients, is utilizing your friends and other people in the yoga community who might have a newsletter and put out the call for yoga teachers. So I'm happy to do that, Michael. That might be something that helps. Because you never know who's on someone's list. I have people kind of all over the world. But and if you're looking for virtual teachers too, that might be something fun to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, he said thank you for your. It's great, everybody. I love her suggestion. Okay, shall we head on to the next slide?
Okay.
Okay, so here's that part, Michael, that I was talking about. So this is when tech becomes your friend with hiring. So once you get clear on all these various tasks, what it is that you're looking for, then you can put a job description together. And I actually have a job description template, everybody. And we'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. It's free. So it's free. I have some things, all these things that I'm asking you, they're in this Hire Your Dream Team guide, and I'll share the link with you in just a moment. But again, this is where ChatGPT just shines. You can plug it in and say, okay, I did my research on ONET, or, I asked you before that, I want to hire, an assistant if, I'm Melissa, and, here's the top responsibilities. Will you create a job description? And I'll just spit it out. I like to have a really formal template, so I've got that for you in the guide. But again, I just really started using ChatGPT. Please know that it still needs editing. It still needs your personality or magic touch. You can also share your brand and voice, so it can be a little more peppy, or it can be as professional as you'd like. And then I also recommend creating job applications. A lot of times I do see my clients just creating a job description and collecting resumes, but you can have a step in between there. So you can have them submit their resume, and then maybe you ask them a few questions before you even get on the phone with them to see if they're a good fit. And software that I recommend for that is Google Forms. If you have G Suite or Gmail, it's free. You just throw it together, super easy. And then one that I've seen a lot of people start using, small businesses, entrepreneurs, is Typeform. Typeform can be really great. There is a free version, I think, right, Sinead? But then there's you get more bells and whistles in the paid version. So, maybe a step up from Google Forms. And then ZipRecruiter has been really fun. You can post a job description on the site, and then they submit their resume or interest in the role, and then you can ask them some questions, as many as you want. So ZipRecruiter can be a really nice asset. And then last but not least is the job ad. So getting that out there, you can skip the job application, just go straight to the job ad if you'd like. LinkedIn Recruiter. That's I used to be a partner in a technical recruiting firm, so that's what I would use as a headhunter. Indeed.com. And if you're just looking for contractors, Upwork and Fiverr are really wonderful resources. Okay. Any questions? Yeah. And if you've got questions on tech, or if you have a tech suggestion, let me know. I'm always trying to create a bank for people, so feel free to drop them in. So interview for long-term commitments. So, but again, if you just need people part-time, but still, it's kind of nice to have some people that you can, their long-term commitments, maybe periodically over time, but this is still the same process that I would recommend that anybody would use. But before you get started thinking about interviews, here's some really nice questions to think about. So again, come back to your core values. What are your core values? What are your long-term goals? Really think about that. Like instead of just the urgency that you have right now, think about what else could this person do potentially later on down the line. And yeah, how do you see this role shifting with your business? Because maybe you have an idea of how you want your business to shift. Maybe you've got some other skills and talents. Maybe with your yoga studio, you want to also have a juice bar. I don't know. But when sometimes when we're thinking about hiring, we get so into fight or flight, we just kind of put our horse blinders on and we're just so focused at the task at hand. So it's really nice to take a step back in this way. And then I like this one a lot, which I think gets overlooked, but I think it is so key. What are the attributes that you're looking at for in a person? Maybe you're focusing a lot on DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusiveness. And you really want to create a well-rounded staff. Maybe you're looking for people who are very, very kind. Maybe you want people that are assertive and going to step up in a very nice manner, So what are these qualities and attributes that you're looking for? And really make sure that you hold those at the forefront. You'll get to know someone, and a 15-minute interview will tell you a lot. And you can really rely on your vibe with someone, right? How we use an and in psychology, right? So yes, get a feel for the person but use these tactics as well. So heart and mind, right? So first things first, give the person a realistic preview of the role and how it could change. Like, what are the demands? Are they going to be working 80 hours right now until the dust settles? Are they going to be sitting all day? Are they going to be moving around? And then how could it change? Like, we're going to start you off as our organic social media manager, but then I would like to sponsor you from some potential training so you could learn how to do ads for our company. So think about like where you could take them and kind of gauge their excitement. You'll read from their face right away if they want to go on that journey with you or not. And then the next thing is create a structured interview. This one is very simple. And once I tell you what a structured interview is, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know. But this one gets skipped all the time. A structured interview just means asking everybody the same questions. What I see happen is people just hop on a phone with someone, ask them questions, but it ends up not being fair to all of the candidates. Maybe you get to know one more than the other because you're, in a certain mood, or you have something on the top of your head. And so a potential candidate could get missed just because they weren't prompted to give you an answer to something that you're curious about. So a structured interview, decide what all your questions will be, given all of your goals, and then ask everybody the same questions. And one of the questions that I recommend asking is, what is your preferred pay rate? Especially this question is so magical if you do not know what to pay someone, right? If you're a little nervous, or I don't know, I've never hired for this person, just ask and then make sure that you record all of their responses. You'll see an average, and it'll be really nice for you to gauge, oh, okay, this is what I should be paying someone. And make sure to use this tactic and prompt some people. Some people could be amazing candidates, but terrible interviewers. I used to be incredibly shy and terrible with interviews, and then I learned this method in my master's program, but the STAR method. So ask them to give you the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So, have you ever encountered working with an irate customer? If you did, how did you handle it? Ask them, okay, what was the situation? Give me specifics. what was the task at hand? Oh, I needed to call them. Okay, what action did you take? I suggested, I found out what the issue is, said I, understood, gave them a coupon, and the result is they came to the next yoga class. I don't know. That's like a total example, Sinead. But this really, really helps. And this one also gets overlooked. And then last but not least, always leave questions open. Say, hey, at the end of the interview, what questions do you have for me? And I love documenting questions. You can see how committed a person is. When I come across someone that was like, no, I don't have any questions, I'm like, okay, really? Or are they really interested in this role? And you can tell how thoughtful they are if they've read your website. Oh, I've noticed, Renee, that you help, women business owners or something like that. This is what I do, and I wanted to know more about this. It shows you how engaged they are. Sinead, what do you think about the interview suggestions?
Yeah, this is giving me lots of thought. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I love it. The situation, task, action, result. And it made me think of one of the things that we've talked about in the studio community actually is how you can sort of galvanize your teachers to sell the things for you as well. So maybe taking them through like even just the simple things that they say during class, they introduce themselves and then they mention what they're going to focus on in the next class, like, hey, you enjoyed this class, come next time, and things like that. How are they going to really engage with the studio to take it forward? Like maybe that's something that you throw in there, but I love that idea. I've always struggled with the heart side of hiring and feeling like a connection to someone. And what you said there about how that can be really unfair to the other interviewees really hit home, because it's a bias. It's like, oh, I feel connected to you, therefore I'm going to ask you all these questions because I'm interested that I might not ask somebody else. So structure is really key, I think. I love this.
Yes, yes. And by the way, if you're listening to this and if you have hired from that regard, I hope you don't feel shame. We don't know what we don't know until it's presented to us. So if you're type A or recovering type A like me, sometimes I'll see something, I'm like, I should have known that. And I'm like, give yourself grace. We're just going through the motions as best as we can. And let's see, I thought there was another question that I wanted to have. Oh, let's pause really quickly. I want to give you a chance to
No, sorry, we're losing you there a
maybe you
little,
want to.
Renee.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
It's coming back a little bit. You just
Testing.
went into like a tunnel. You went into a tunnel and now I think you're back.
Okay. Am I back from the tunnel, everybody?
You're back. I can hear you now.
Testing.
Yeah, so
Okay,
you were saying we'll
wonderful.
take a pause.
I would love for everybody to take a moment and toot your own horn. What's your long-term goal for 3 to 5 years from now? And this would be something that you would tell your potential candidates about, engage their interest. So what I would love for everybody to just toot your own horn, say, oh, I'm gonna have 3 studios, but I only have 1 right now, whatever it is. And then we'll let the responses come in, Sinead, but we'll head to the next slide.
Okay.
But I love this. I love when people like toot their own horn. It makes me so happy. All right. So our last tip, everybody, is to get clear on your boundaries for hiring and beyond. And I like to use the term boundaries. It's a little softer than, get all your contracts together, but contracts are there for boundary setting. They really are. So one thing that I recommend to all of my clients, especially yoga teachers, is to either purchase contracts and NDAs or hire a lawyer. Shout out to Conscious Counsel. They're really wonderful and they just have they just created some contracts for purchase. So I highly recommend them. If you're creating your own, I do think that's great, but maybe have a lawyer take a look-see at it. But there's some things that I really recommend including, which are, any benefits, which is actually a plus and something definitely to talk about in your interview. Do they get a discount? Are they allowed to go to classes for free? If they're doing the retreat with you, Melissa, do they get a per diem? Are their meals paid for? I definitely include their start dates. And then this is one thing that I recently recommended to my chef client, which is including like a notice agreement or end of contract. So how much time would you like before the working relationship can be severed? So, something that I've seen is there's lots of turnover, especially in our wellness community. So maybe you'd like a 1 month notice, or maybe at least 2 weeks. But I have seen some people take advantage and just quit, and you're left kind of high and dry. But we talked about a lot of longevity, but everything, I like to present in a realistic fashion. So people sometimes don't work out, even though we have all of our best intentions. So make sure to talk about that. And you can say that if you're going to sever the contract on your end, you might give a 1 month notice, but then you can also include language around, unless, the candidate and, or the person I hire and me discuss otherwise, so you can still be kind. It doesn't have to be hard and fast, but there's specific wording around that. And I highly recommend talking to your lawyer about that. Let's see. And of course, draw up your expectations in the contract. You can include a copy of the job description. That works just fine. And then sometimes it's nice to include some conflict management. Maybe there's some steps, right? I think this is often left out, which is, if someone's late to starting their class, maybe they get a verbal notice, just say, hey, so-and-so, you were 15 minutes late to class. That's really not how we do things here at Lotus Yoga Studio. I'm just making something up. Then they're late again. Maybe there's a written notice, and maybe the third time they're let go, but I know that that's a little kind of seems tough, but I mean, we get so angry and we feel so taken advantage of when we are taken advantage of, right? When we're too nice. So having all that down, and this showing some of the, hey, you've signed this, you said you weren't going to be late, I just want to draw this to your attention. It can really help to reinforce those boundaries. And then of course, I definitely recommend drawing up an email with start dates and attaching like basic agreements or any SOPs, anything that you'd like for them to review. Anything that anytime you can document something in email is always going to CYA or cover your rear. And then something that I really, really want to encourage everybody here on the line to think about are regular performance appraisals. And I know that's a very techy corporate jargon, or it's corporate jargon, but what it means is having regular meetings to check in on someone. Hey, how do you feel it's going working here, working for me? Do you have any suggestions on how you can improve your work or how we can improve things around here? And by the way, this is the way that I'm seeing you really shining. I'd really love for you to step up in this way. So performance appraisals can include pay rate increases. So maybe that's another thing to think about. But if you are always staying in constant contact with someone and checking in on how they're enjoying the role, they're going to hang around longer. And if they know regularly your expectations, you won't have to bring up the contract every, so often. You'll already have this beautiful rapport built. What do you think about that, Sinead? And here, if you're on the line with me, like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, this really resonates, especially it makes me think around the ways that if it's a yoga studio or a movement studio, how you can make the staff feel that bit more committed. Like, do you think sort of staff events, regular gatherings, that kind of giving back to the staff, letting them feel connected to each other? Because I know as a yoga teacher, especially when I was doing it and when I was managing the studios, the teachers only see the person who's doing the class either before or after them. They're like sort of just passing by at their sign-in desk. So it's building those relationships with them is an important component too, right? Especially like their regular appraisals. And I wonder if with the regular appraisals, you can kind of tackle the idea that some teachers may feel like they're more important than others. So a teacher who's got like a really popular class, sort of it stops a hierarchy forming, I think, if the owner is or the manager is connected equally to each staff member rather than just never doing check-ins, and then the hierarchy is allowed to form because that check-in is missing. I think it's a really important piece.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. And I have worked with studios too. It's like there's definitely the separation between the studio manager, the owner, and the yoga teachers are just like sheep.
Yeah.
Herd them together and you herd them away and they just come in and out. But
Yeah, yeah,
And
giving that in that sense of community and I guess it's the type of yoga studio you're building. If it's one that's really community focused and it's going to be in your mission statement anyway, and your vision and your values, and it's perpetuating that with your teachers as well, and then hopefully they perpetuate it to the clients.
yeah, yes, and we can reduce that sense of resentment that sometimes builds up when we don't have that open communication regularly. So it's just nice ways to kind of nip things in the bud and
Mhm.
always be communicating and watching people flourish, right? Because when you're teachers, when you flourish, everybody flourishes.
Yeah.
Let's see, Dasa says that her long-term goal is to have her studio as her sole income in 1 year. Yeah. As well as move into a bigger space in the next 2 years. Yeah. Okay, rock on. Thank you for sharing, for cheering you on. And if you're just seeing that and you want to throw in your 3 to 5 year big goal, like share with us so we can cheer you on. All right, let's talk about some examples and then we'll wrap up, everybody. So these are 3 case examples, and I'm so excited to share with you the first one. So I had the beautiful opportunity to work with someone named Shannon Crow. Does anybody know who Shannon Crow is? She
I have an idea.
She's the host of the Connected Yoga Teacher. She was actually my business coach when I first started off with my yoga teacher entrepreneurship. And she was actually the first person that said, you know, Renee, I know you love teaching yoga in the yoga community, but I also see your passion with business. And she created that space for me. So she had this problem she was dealing with. She needed part-time help. It felt really I saw her news list, of course, she's my coach. And I was like, hey, you know, I recruit, right? And she's like, that would be so lovely. So she brought me on and we got clear on her long-term goals, which she hadn't really like put together in the application, her job description. She really wanted someone to help her grow her public health business. And so the solution is I really jumped in, I handled all the interviews and the scheduling, and I connected with Shannon, guided her through the process. We would talk and brainstorm the right fit, and the best candidate for the job was Sinead. Sinead here, yay! And Sinead,
I
you're still
know.
supporting Shannon to this day, right?
Yes, and that was 4 years ago. And I remember Shannon put the advert out. It was a type form document in the Connected Yoga Teacher Facebook group, which had about 5,000 members at the time. And yeah, I remember speaking to Renee, but then in a complete full circle, Shannon, I've worked for Shannon for 4 years, and about 6 months in, she introduced me to this company she'd been talking to called Offering Tree, who were just starting to grow as a startup and needed some support. So in this full circle way, Renee got me the job with the Offering Tree in the end because Shannon suggested me to Offering Tree. I started working with Offering Tree, and now Offering Tree sponsor Shannon's podcast. So this whole circle. But yeah, it was an awesome process and I'm very grateful for it. But yeah, so I had first-hand experience of what a great recruiter you are, Renee. It was cool.
Thank you. And it was such an honor for the job because she has health experience. Like that's what she teaches, it's what she's great at. And I just knew she was going to go the distance with Shannon. So thank you for being awesome. All right, let's head to
Okay.
the next case study. Case study is just fancy for, example. And I'm just going to turn off my video, everybody, because poor hotspot's coming in and out. It's probably getting mad at me. I had the wonderful opportunity to work with Joy Page. She owns the Joy of Yoga, or Joy Studio, out of St. Louis, Missouri. And we worked together one-on-one. She kept hiring people she knew, but it wouldn't work out. And there was a lot of angst around this. And she's just such a beautiful, wonderful person with this amazing studio. So we worked together over 4 calls, and I helped her get clear on what she should include in her job description, the application process, questions for the structured interview. And I was just a sounding board for her on deciding like between a few candidates. She hired help quickly because she was so much clearer on who she was working for and the help she needed. Normally, hiring someone can take about 2 to 3 months, give or take, depending on who exactly you're looking for, but the clearer you are, the faster you can hire, the more that you can sort through your candidates. So proud of Joy. And then the next example is a small business. I had the wonderful opportunity to work with the Institute for Women-Centered Coaching. I supported the CMO there named Jamie, and I was a contractor there doing not only project management, but operations management. And we did things so quickly. We would hire very quickly, but there was nothing in place to train our people. So we'd have high turnover, unfortunately, because people would just feel overwhelmed. They'd feel like nobody was available to train them. They'd be hard on themselves. So I worked with Jamie. We got, everybody's probably heard of Asana or Asana, depending on how you want to say it, right? The yoga community. We built a training board. I created videos and SOPs, and that board is still used to this day. And I created about 2 or 3 years ago. So it's a one-stop shop. It saves a team a ton of time and reduces turnover when you can have people feel really confident in supporting you, because that's all they want to do. All right, so now that you all are aware of all of these steps, now you can see that all of these wonderful entrepreneurs had one thing in common, and that is that they slowed down and got really clear with what their intentions were. Oh, next slide, Shanae. Sorry. Oh.
Oh, wrong one.
I know. This is Canva, everybody. They slowed down, they hired with intention, and they created a reusable process. And that's what you want. And when I say reusable, I still mean organic. You definitely want to go back periodically and update everything. So set reminders for yourself, of course. So now, okay, next slide, please. Now that you've learned how to align recruiting, hiring, and onboarding with both your heart and mind for longevity and success, you've done setting clear goals, you know how to set SOPs, and it doesn't have to be perfect, everybody. You've befriended tech, you can interview now for long-term goals and to make sure people are wonderful and a match for your culture, and you're getting clear on documents and how you can set boundaries. The next steps are go gadget Canva. So you're aware now to create a habit, process, or change, but on the next slide, you probably want to start implementing. And it's fine, Shanae, you can leave it here.
Keep skipping.
So to help you implement, I welcome you to opt in and grab on the next slide. I love the terminology of hiring your dream team, right? Because we all have people in mind, and you really do want people just to lift you up. So I put together a free roadmap to assemble your dream team, and I love journals, so everything is in here. I've got tons of journaling questions. The questions I've asked you today, if you didn't get a chance to write them down, they're here. I've got more questions. On the next slide, I think I maybe have some screenshots to show you of what it looks like. Oh, okay, here's the table of contents. So we'll go over your business goals, your tasks and energy, your KSAOs, which again are knowledge, skills, abilities, and other things that you're looking for, logistics, and then I have a job description template in here. And you can just make a quick copy of it, use ChatGPT, throw it in, and you're good to go. Now on the next slide, I think, yeah, so here's, I had my VA put this together for you all. Doesn't she do? She did a great job, I think. So this is just an example of what it looks like. And Shanae just threw in the link. I would love for you to join. You'll also be added to my Clarity Club newsletter, and I give these tips amongst everything else in there just to help you manage the chaos in your life that comes with a business, and a heartfelt business too. And if you want to take it a step further, I'm here. You can book a free 15-minute clarity call with me, which Shanae, thank you for dropping in. I think that's on the next slide too. I have a fancy QR code if you'd like to use your phone. So I can help you with the job descriptions, best practices for job ads, determining fair compensation. I've given you a tip, but of course I know kind of the pay ranges for a lot of roles. And beyond that, my mission in life is to really just coach and be supportive in any way I can. So, I would love to get to know you and your goals. So please book a call. And then on the next slide is just some more time for Q&A. I know that we're just about here to finish up, and I hope I've answered more of your questions, but if I've kind of jogged your memory, or if you have another question, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop it in the chat. I forgot you all can't see me because of my little.
I'm just going to share in the chat a discount through Renee's partner link for offering tree today, and this discount applies to any plan that you want to sign up for, including a studio plan. We do have a studio plan and a studio light plan for studios that have 3 staff members or less as well, so it's a bit more accessible for the different plans. But before we go, Renee, I wanted to make sure that we covered this question from Tiffany in our Offering Tree Studio community group. I think I need a contract for my yoga teachers that outlines expectations. What are your thoughts on what things to make sense and what things make sense to include? Thank you. So is this Conscious Council have the contracts, right?
Yes, definitely recommend going there. I have some other women-owned businesses that I can recommend too if you want to support them. But Conscious Council is just really great, and they're here as part of our community. But
Yeah.
I definitely recommend their contracts. They should have things already included, right, Shanae?
Yeah, and anyone else that you want to recommend, I'll share that with Tiffany. Because yeah, I think a contract that outlines expectations, as you said, is so important, and there's what things to include. I think you outlined a lot of it, right? The timing, when you expect them to come to class, what you expect them to do during class, what their expectations are around sort of upselling things, cleaning the room,
management. Yeah, conduct, code of conduct is huge. Like and stewardship. They're representative of the studio. What are those expectations? You know, always be kind. Yeah, I love
And
that.
I think it's almost like just don't leave anything to assumptions, right? It's if you think it, write it down to guide people, because that's the easiest way to make sure the guidance is met and no boundaries are crossed, right?
Exactly. Yep. And just know nothing is ever set in stone. So if you drop a contract and then a year from now you're like, oh my gosh, this thing happened, I wish I included that in contract, go ahead and add it in and then have people re-sign it. And that's okay. So it's always allowed. Yeah.
That's a great tip, because I came up against that in our studio as well, where I was like, oh no, it's too late to include it. But it's never too late, because things change, right? Things grow and change, and it's part of it. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Renee. Everybody, Melissa saying thank you. Michael, it's saying thank you. We really appreciate everybody who was here live and everyone who's here for the replay. We're going to send out all of these links. The replay is going to be in the inboxes in the next couple of hours. Darcy's saying thank you. Great information. You have more clarity on hiring. Yeah. And yes, I highly recommend anyone check out Renee's offerings, because from personal experience, she is fantastic at hiring. If you are needing that extra guidance, definitely check Renee out. And thank you so much for your time today, Renee. It was so nice to do this with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's been an honor, everybody. You all are fantastic, and I am cheering you on.